Bitcoin creates sovereignty and freedom in a way that no other technology does. Unfortunately, it is going to be a long fight to get the government to give themselves an audit trail like that, because we're up against all the trillions of dollars of dark money in this world that will literally kill to keep the system in place. But even if you just get regular citizens the ability to hold Bitcoin, the ability to understand Bitcoin, and the popularity for Bitcoin to spread to businesses, that gives us all the option, the choice, right?
We're here with Ian Carroll. Ian, how has Bitcoin changed the way that you think about money?
I would say that I'm a Bitcoiner now. I actually got into cryptocurrency through first getting involved in GameStop and wanting to learn more about the financial markets. Then, as they were developing like kind of crypto products in the video game world, they're kind of working with some like protocol Gemini and stuff like that. Then I started to learn about Ethereum and other sort of coins and other projects. And then eventually I met people like you guys. I met people that just sort of started to orange pill me little by little by little. And the more you learn, the more you realize that Bitcoin is the thing you want to have. And so now I save, like basically my savings are in Bitcoin and my spending money is in cash. And I kind of keep a little bit of both, but I don't save or hold other coins. I don't shill any coins intentionally because I have to stay independent. And I certainly don't launch coins, but I do collect my own Bitcoin for my own personal little bank account. And I'm up significantly since I started buying because that's how Bitcoin works. And I'm new to the cycle and I'm still up and I'm down to be down too. It's like bring on the downs, bring on the ups, who cares? Because when you have that long view and you understand the most basic fundamentals about Bitcoin, it's a real no-brainer.
No, and speaking of up, congratulations. You just hit 1 million followers on TikTok.
Yeah.
And you released this really cool video about Mega.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, it's 4 companies that run the whole world. And there's
Sort of.
one that it all leads to one in particular.
Yeah.
You gotta tell me, who is that one? And you know.
So this is where I started on accident. Is I started just looking at who owns everything that we use in our day-to-day lives. Like who owns the cereals in our cereal aisle? Who owns the shampoo in our shampoo aisle? Because we all kind of know there's this illusion of choice in the grocery store. Like we have 1 million choices in every grocery aisle, but actually it's just 4 companies, 5 companies, 6 companies that are selling you all these products. And there's a few family-owned companies. And when you follow the ownership structure up, when you look at who owns Procter & Gamble, it's all the financial institutions. And the top of the list is always Vanguard, State Street, and BlackRock. And that sort of is like layer 1 of a conspiracy theory. And the debunk that everyone does to it is like, well, Vanguard, State Street, and BlackRock, they manage our investments. They manage our retirement funds. They allow us to invest in ETFs. They're managing our money for us. BlackRock doesn't own the shares of Procter & Gamble and of Raytheon and General Dynamics. BlackRock just manages our shares. So they don't really own everything. And that's true to a certain degree. BlackRock is custodian of our shares for us. But when you actually start to dig into the technicals of how that works, if it's an ETF, we're just a beneficial owner. There's all sorts of funds that actually give BlackRock and these investment management firms, they have the true ownership. We are beneficial owners, which is a serious concern in the first place. But the bigger layer there is that they control the voting rights of every single one of those shares. And I think a lot of, like, in many ways, I think the psyop is that we all think of the stock market as it's all about money. But to the rich and powerful, it's all about influence. It's all about power. And if you control the voting rights to all the shares on the stock market, you, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, JP Morgan, Fidelity, Schwab, T. Rowe Price, these big fund managers, investment banks, all of them, if they're controlling 95% of the voting rights in the stock market, that means that the fiduciary duty of all these companies that are making our products, giving us our services, controlling our whole economy, their duty is to the investment banks, not to us. So when they poison us in our food, that's no problem because they're making more money for their actual shareholders, the banks. When our education system is worse, but it's making more money, it doesn't matter because their duty legally is to the investment banks. And so when they control all the voting rights of all these public companies, that cuts us out of the governance. We don't have a say in how these companies get run. Our votes don't matter because we don't actually vote them. But it also absolves the CEOs of those companies, the executives of those companies of any guilt because they're not guilty. because they are legally bound to do its best interest of their shareholders, and their shareholders are the financial institutions. And so when you look at the financial institutions that own all these companies, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, Charles Schwab, T. Rowe Price, etc., they all own each other in the exact same way. So the top ownership of BlackRock looks just like the top ownership of Vanguard is a silly complication. But you start to notice that it's just this big, massive pool of cross ownership that obscures who really owns it all.
And do you think that same thing is happening with Bitcoin?
I worry about it. It'll never be the exact same thing because the way you own Bitcoin is not the same way that you buy a stock of a company. But I do worry about big institutional money buying up a lot of Bitcoin, and whether it's just pushing sentiment or pushing price or something more nefarious like buying enough that you can actually push the future of the code. That is a concern to me. People far smarter than me are the ones that need to be keeping their eyes on that, because the beauty of Bitcoin is how through its complexity it has achieved a very simple result, which is this secure currency that works so well. But it requires a very complex understanding to truly audit it and to truly keep tabs on what's really going on behind the scenes. So I worry that with the desire for the number to go up, it sort of becomes the incentive or the blinders. So no one's paying attention to the integrity of the project. That's my big concern with Bitcoin right now.
You're talking about concern, but what would you say the biggest threat to Bitcoin would face over the long term?
My job is all about learning about complex things one piece at a time. And there's no better example of something that's very complex than Bitcoin, blockchain, and cryptocurrencies. So there's so many layers to the answer to this question. But right now, my understanding, my current worry that is getting deeper every day, is I worry that as big financial institutions buy more and more Bitcoin, and they accumulate more and more sort of power over the price and power over the collective use case and the collective decisions about the code in the future, people suggesting like, maybe we don't want a 21 million cap, like that kind of thing. That is deeply concerning. And if you get into a world where enough financial power owns enough of the Bitcoin and we become these small fish, that the people that truly have the best interest of Bitcoin in mind become small voices. And the masses, the general public, start to hear about Bitcoin on the news from controlled news media that can then push this ignorant sentiment about Bitcoin to make some really horrible decisions about the future of Bitcoin. And right now it doesn't feel that way because you come to this conference and we're surrounded by OGs. We're surrounded by people that have been here since the start. And I'm not deep enough and aware enough to know if the OGs here feel like that is a true concern in their minds, or if that's just kind of like, normie fear. But I worry that when you have the OGs suppose in the future some really horrible idea, like expanding the number of possible Bitcoins comes up, and the OGs start to scream like, no, don't do that. I worry, what if we're in an environment where their voices are lost in this massive crowd of the media that suddenly has all the normies wanting the number to go up, all the normies listening to mainstream media? That's a big concern in my mind.
I do want to add on that because the thing is, the 21 million is a hard top. That cannot be changed.
You'd have to fork.
You'd have to fork, which is what happened with Bitcoin Cash.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the cool and interesting thing about Bitcoin that I've never seen before is that you need the consensus of, Bitcoin Core to literally and all the Bitcoin miners and everybody to be like, all right, we're going to do this and keep the ethos intact.
And so Bitcoin itself will always be true, right? But it wouldn't be hard to hijack the sentiment of cryptocurrency, blockchain, until they could very easily try to do something like launch the new Bitcoin and bring everyone on, or bankers will do horrible banker things. And in some ways, we already have fallen prey to this a little bit, I believe, in the sense that Bitcoin was supposed to be able to be somewhat anonymous. You were supposed to be you weren't supposed to have KYC everywhere you go, right? And KYC as an idea, if we go only Bitcoin and then a whole bunch of weird controlled cryptocurrencies and central bank digital currencies and stuff. I also have a concern of like, there is a dystopia in the future where the governments, intelligence agencies, institutions manage to put us in a world where they control all of the privacy coins and they can surveil a lot of the Bitcoin. And we wind up being like, yeah, we have Bitcoin and freedom and we have the number going up, but we don't have a lot of privacy left.
But that's like a full on another rabbit hole, like the whole KYC thing. But that's just like, that doesn't even come with Bitcoin. That's like the government trying to like
It's an overlay.
put their claws in and be
Yeah.
like, okay, you have this financial freedom tool, but they're like psych type, you know, like trying to like, obviously like people are trying to fight that, but how can people even like fight that?
Well, that's the problem, is that you can't fight. I mean, obviously you don't fight with violence. You don't fight with money. You're up against the biggest institution in the world. You fight with your voice. You fight with your actions. You fight with, like, you know, Bitcoin is so cool because just the act of buying Bitcoin is an exit from their system right now, right? And so and in a way I see it as like speech, as in I'm going to vote with my choice to exit. But in a way, I think that we need people in the media. We need people like the people in this conference, networking, getting loud, building platforms and audiences that can reach wide swaths of the masses, which is part of why I'm here, is to learn. Because I have a relatively limited understanding of like the deeper side of Bitcoin, but also the deeper side of blockchain and crypto and everything else. But I have a wide audience in the masses. And so in a certain way, I have a responsibility to come learn. I have a responsibility to come meet people, to come get involved with like people that have been here, that have seen what's gone on, because it's really easy to be deceived. It's really easy to be tricked. It's really easy to have, you know, flashy, you know, promises in front of your face. But if you don't have the history of knowing where this has all come from and the traps that we've already sort of seen come and go, I think that there's a lot of incentive, obviously, to try to steer Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and everything that comes with into really dark paths. And the central bank digital currency is the most obvious version of that. But I don't think that all bankers are so silly as to just think that they're going to get away with just that. I think that there's a lot of other projects going on, a lot of other subversion targeting Bitcoin and targeting crypto at large. So.
What are your thoughts on stablecoins? I know you're mentioning you're just like dipping your toes into the industry and you're learning. What are your thoughts on stablecoins? Do you think they would harm Bitcoin, or?
I don't know as I have an educated take on whether stablecoins harm Bitcoin, but my current understanding, my current belief is that one of the things that's so wrong with the world now is a unipolar model, as in we live in a world where the United States has been the empire, we've been the figurehead, like the face of this empire that's been controlling the world as one power in the world for like ever since World War II and maybe before. And so in a unipolar model, in a unipolar world, you have so many pitfalls, so much opportunity for really dystopian outcomes. And currency, blockchain, Bitcoin, this financial revolution is inherently a vote against the unipolar dollar model. And so I see it as like, we don't want just Bitcoin, at least I don't. I want Bitcoin to be true and healthy and vibrant and alive, but I also want stablecoins to do what stablecoins do. I want crypto products to do what crypto products do. Like, let the Ethereum people do Ethereum stuff, you know, to their own detriment and gain, however it winds up. It's like, I'm of the mindset that the free market is the free market. And if you want to wind up being a Bitcoiner for your value systems, then you do that. Where I get concerned is where you start to get regulators coming in, you start to get like information operations trying to like smear like, oh no, we can't have privacy coins. Oh no, we can't have decentralized blockchains because of a bunch of bullshit reasons that they kind of invent. And so in my mind, free speech and a free economy, that's the path forward. And then we will all sort it out ourselves. to me, the real pitfall is once the free speech goes and once the free economy starts to get limited, infiltrated, undermined, that's where we really start to run into problems and banks start to take control again.
So do you think we'll live to see like to separate the state and money?
The more I think about that question, the more exciting of a question it is. Because I was about to say, in some ways, we already are seeing it. Like, in some ways, this whole conference is an economy. It's a whole money outside of the government. But in a lot of ways, we're so far from the actual truth of that statement yet. And when I think about saying yes, I do think we'll see that in our lifetime, my brain goes to all of the incredible just advances in culture and technology and human flourishing that will come when that day comes. And it's like, oh, it's too good to be true. It's too good to be true. Because we've lived in a world ruled by central bankers and by like controlled monetary systems basically since the invention of money in a lot of ways. And so I want to say yes, but in some ways I try not to get too optimistic about too amazing of an outcome too quickly, because we're up against a lot of power and a lot of really evil people that have a lot, everything to lose. But I just don't know if they can stop it. Like, now that the Bitcoin ball is rolling down the hill, and now that blockchain technology, the internet, and all the AI technologies that are quickly coming, now that they're out there, I don't know if you can put that ball back in the queue. So
I might be like sweating right now.
it's really exciting to think about.
What would that's crazy to think about what that world would even look like. Like, I feel like, would we even know how to act? You know,
and I don't think that, I think that 90% plus of Americans don't even have a concept that that's a question. I think most Americans, most people in the world don't even realize that money as a technology, as a system, has nothing to do with the government. It does not have to be a government-controlled thing. And I think that most people have no concept of what uncoupling money from government might do. Because we all know the government is corrupt, and we all know that money is the root of all evil, which is total bullshit.
Why do you say total bullshit?
Because money is just an exchange system. Money is just what allows me to cooperate with people that I'm not inherently trusting of, right?
So would you say power is the root of all evil?
This is going to be I've not thought this answer through, but I think that I'm trying to get towards some wording that ease is the root of all evil. I think that the easy path is the root of all evil. I think that the human desire to not have it hard, to not do the hard thing, to not, like the quote that hard times make hard people make easy times make easy people make hard times. Baked into that cake is the realization that when you get too comfortable, when you get too wealthy, when you get to when you want to take the easy road, there's a thing inside of humans that wants that's this little voice, this little devil that wants to be corrupted, that wants I want the money, I want the fame, I want the power, all of that is various symbols of I don't want to have to work hard, I don't want to have to do the right thing, I don't want to have to. So I don't think that money is the root of all evil. Money can be used for great good or great evil. Money allows for everything that human beings have done in all of our history. And power is the same thing. Power can be used to save children's lives, or it can be used to enslave them and traffic them. And so it's not any of these tools, any of these externalities. To me, the root of all evil is that voice, that bad wolf that we all have inside of us. And I mean, really, you can get spiritual about it, you can get religious about it. But there's that voice inside of all of us telling you that you don't have to be your best self. You don't have to do the hard work. You don't have to eat right. You don't have to be kind. And that's bullshit.
Like being comfortable.
Yeah.
And
do the hard thing.
Do the hard thing. Yeah. And I feel like the hard thing is taking control. In a way, the system has pushed all of us to not be independent and to be dependent on everything in every single aspect of life.
The whole system is designed to feed into that voice. To sell you the comfiest sofa, the biggest TV, the most addictive food, legalize these drugs, put sex on the screen, just be satiated, own nothing, and be happy. And just go to your job that means nothing, and just get fat, lay back, and enjoy the ride. And just everything about that is just profit on profit on profit. Because every time that someone gets comfortable, it's because you're selling them comfort. Because inherently, we're a bunch of monkeys running around in the wild, fighting for our lives, trying to start fire and eat food. And that's a lot of hard work. And the moment that you don't have to do the fighting for your life, or you don't have to do the building shelter, you don't have to do the starting fire, all of those are services that someone's selling to you, right, in this economy. And that's wonderful. That's awesome, right? But it also has this trap built into all of it of like, man, this chair is comfy. Like, damn, this suit is nice. Like, fuck, my girlfriend is so hot. Like, I don't have to work hard anymore. I got money. And I think that we all have to stay vigilant to that voice inside of us that tells us to kick back, put your feet up. You've made it. No, you haven't. The fight between good and evil is eternal. And every day we're all choosing to either fight for what's right, fight for what's best for all of us, exit that system, or give into it, take your paycheck, and be a part of the problem.
When you say get fat and enjoy the ride, Wall-E. Instant flashback to Wall-E.
Bingo. Yeah.
Oh, fat people in like huge
Exactly.
chairs rolling around in space while we destroy the earth.
It's exactly what they want.
But, and my last question, so a lot of Bitcoiners say that all the corruptions we see and you expose is downstream of money. Does this disappear organically if we move to a Bitcoin standard? Or is there something more we need to fight back?
That's a great question. And I'm going to tell it back to you to make sure I'm hearing it right. You're saying that a lot of Bitcoiners think that if we all go on Bitcoin, that inherently just erases so much corruption. It does all this stuff, like, because my whole life is just looking for all this bullshit, right? And my answer to that is largely yes, but never entirely, right? Like, Bitcoin gets used for crime. Bitcoin gets used for, like, all kinds of things. But Bitcoin also gets used for incredible things. And Bitcoin creates sovereignty and freedom in a way that no other technology does. And so, yes, in a lot of ways, the big picture crime, like the big picture corruption, like the black budget of America, that's just siphoning money out of our pensions, siphoning money out of like the congressional budget, siphoning money out of our tax dollars and sending it to Lord knows where for Lord knows what. All of that largely disappears overnight because you can track it all, you can trace it all. It's non-fungible. There's so many aspects to Bitcoin that just kills their ability to do that overnight. Unfortunately, I don't think that we're ever going to get the government to, it is going to be a long fight to get the government to give themselves an audit trail like that, because we're up against all the trillions of dollars of dark money in this world that will literally kill to keep the system in place. But even if you just get regular citizens the ability to hold Bitcoin, the ability to understand Bitcoin, and the popularity for Bitcoin to spread to businesses, to commerce, some amount of literacy, right? That gives us all the option, the choice, right? And ultimately, I think that the unfortunate truth in my mind is that you can't force change. You just have to provide the opportunity for change. Because if you're trying to teach someone something, you can't force them to learn. You have to give them the opportunity to learn. And if we want our whole culture to learn, if we want our whole culture to change, you have to give them all, our whole culture, the opportunity to learn and change. And so it doesn't come from like one giant shift all at once. It comes incrementally over years of all of us making the right choice, doing the right thing, working hard, and innovating. And like optimizing and being optimistic, right? That's one of the coolest things about Bitcoin is that it's full of innovation, full of optimism, and full of people making the choice to just forge their own path, go their own way.
I love that. Learn, change, separate money and states.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Good to see you again.